that pain won't last forever. It's got a year, maybe 2 years. It's the time to get creative, make phone calls, follow up people. Money is in the follow up. You've got to be able to articulate the power of the 90% CLTV, talk about taxes, talk about income, talk about
Right.
secured position, right? All those things. You got to be able to tell the story. You got to be a trusted borrower. The seller's got to like you. They're not going to lend you 40% if you're a dirtbag. I mean, that's just common sense. I was interviewed on another podcast, and during that discussion, I talked about getting 30-year money on apartment buildings. I'm talking
Mm,
5 units and above.
yeah.
And the interviewer didn't believe me. So I had to go into the detailed explanation, Mr. Stephen Dow, and share all the goodness that is Velocity Mortgage. Before we get into the story and remind people that, yes, you too can do this, please do the marketing thing.
Thank you so much again. Although I work very happily for Velocity Mortgage Capital, all the ideas and topics discussed on this channel are that of my own. So let's get it going.
So let's kind of bring the full story around. So Velocity Mortgage is a publicly traded company.
Yes, sir.
Is it fair to say that you play in the non-QM, non-qualified mortgage space? Is that reasonable
I,
the category?
it's definitely reasonable. It's not only that particular space because it's almost a little bit even more, I think, accommodating to some degree than your regular non-QM kind of DSCR or kind of type
Right.
program bank statement, something like that. Whereas even on commercial multifamily, it's no ratio up to a certain loan amount and below.
Right.
So again, I would say that definitely within that space, but then maybe even beyond that. So definitely that would be a good starting point.
Yeah. So one of the reasons I wanted to bring this up is a lot of people are so conditioned to only look at Fannie Freddie, right? Conventional lending,
Right.
which in the multifamily space typically is 3, 5, 7, or 10-year fixed. There are some
Right.
30-year AM on big institutional grade stuff, but
Right.
generally people like me, we're not getting a taste of that stuff. So I shared the story on this other podcast, gave them, props to you and Velocity Mortgage. Uh, but you guys do 30-year fixed rate financing on investment properties, whether that's a fourplex, a 20 unit, a 50 unit, a 100 unit.
Right.
That's just the product you offer, 30-year fixed. And oh, by the way, if you want to get nutty with it, you could do 10 years IO and then make it up over the last 20 years. There's so many things that Velocity offers. People need to realize that you too can get 30-year fixed rate financing.
Oh no, agreed. And with a little less, I guess, friction, for lack of a better word. A lot of times with commercial financing tends to be a little bit more condition, intensive. So the ease of use of our product, I think, has been very well received. Again, not looking for or requesting or requiring the normal personal income documentation, no tax returns, pay stubs, or W-2s. In some cases, rents would, matter as far as making sure that it cash flows from a certain standpoint, but only above a certain loan amount. So if you're playing in the lower price ranges, 500,000 and under, it's literally just a minimum 650 FICO and the appraised value to come in to support your purchase price or value needed, and
Yeah,
everything
so
else.
let's talk about a bigger deal. Let's talk about a 50-unit building.
Okay.
It's 100K a door, so that's $5 million if I've done my math right.
Okay.
Um, you know, so let's talk loan products. So if I'm coming in and I'm just coming to Velocity for the first, what kind of loan product are we looking at roughly? Ask me questions if you want, because you probably need to know more than what I just gave you.
Well, I mean, no, you kind of helped to outline the specifics as far as at least the property type, because rates, guidelines, fees are all predicated on the property type. So in this case, mixed use multifamily are all a particular category. So for that type of property type, we're usually maxed at 75% LTV. Unless the loan amount is above $1 million, which it is in this case, then we would be capped at 70.
Okay.
Otherwise, just the minimum 650 FICO score, mid FICO score, and
Yeah,
in
the,
this
the
case,
reason
if
that's important is because, again, having done deals in this space with what I'll call just regular banks, they're probably in this environment going to require 35 or 40% down, right? So your down payment in this case is a little bit less. Um, but
I haven't done a recently, kind of like apples to apples comparison, but
sure,
I would imagine, yeah, there's going to be a little bit more, um, I think, tightening of guidelines. I think just in this
sure.
environment, just because of the space, commercial properties, especially certain ones, office,
Oh yeah. Oof.
larger apartment building, they're taking kind of a big hit in certain markets, and so I would imagine there's going to be some of that, but I couldn't guarantee or verify that. So,
Yeah, that's okay.
but that makes sense. At least with
And then
ours. Go ahead.
yeah, the other thing I want to talk about, this 50 unit building at 5 million bucks. So that's again just straight up purchase, right? 35% down, very standard.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
again, Velocity Mortgage offers that 90% CLTV. So
Yes,
it is possible to come in with, you know, only
10% down.
10% down, right? You could do 50% velocity, 40% seller carry, and only
Right,
have to bring in 10%. And oh, by the
right,
way, you mash together a blend and get a blended interest rate, below 6, maybe below 5.
right.
That pencil's pretty good.
Oh no, again, it's all about the numbers game. So trying to structure the financing in a certain way, given the circumstances and what's available that you could use as far as resources, is how much the seller's willing to carry, what kind of terms he's going to be doing, and then from there just compare that with the monthly rents, and that's pretty much the calculation that you should be doing. Outside of that, I think if everybody can see the benefits on both sides or all sides, I think that's where it's a
Yeah.
win-win. But it's just doing the homework, but it's out there for sure.
Yeah, in a market where it's really slowing down, again, we are seeing folks like Blackstone, KKR call the bottom in Class A. I still think there's plenty of pain in Class B and Class C, but that pain won't last forever. It's got a year, maybe 2 years. It's the time to get creative, make phone calls, follow up people. Money is in the follow up. You've got to be able to articulate the power of the 90% CLTV, talk about taxes, talk about income, talk about
Right.
secured position, right? All those things. You got to be able to tell the story. You got to be a trusted borrower. The seller's got to like you. They're not going to lend you 40% if you're a dirt bag. I mean, that's just common sense. But if somebody wanted to reach out to you and poke at this 90% CLTV or get 30-year money on apartments, how would they do that?
That again is SDAO at velocitymortgage.com. In the subject line, please put the acronym ORAAT. That stands for one rental at a time, just to get past the firewall. In the body of the email, maybe a brief description, what you're looking for. Property address would be super helpful. At least maybe city and state, just to make sure I can lend there. Your mid FICO score also would really help. And then best phone number to reach you in typically 24, 40 hours, I'll be in touch. I apologize. This week's been super kind of hectic with the last days of the
Month
month,
end,
so it just tends to be a little bit more
chaotic.
troublesome sometimes, just putting out fires at the last minute. So apologies,
Yeah.
but yeah, we've pretty much gotten all caught up now. I've got one other person to call, Taylor. If you're watching, I'll be calling you shortly. Other than that, yeah,
There you go.
looking forward to the next
Yeah.
inquiry.
Yeah, and August 1st we've just started selling tickets to the ORaaT event. So people can count on you being there in Vegas, February 15th and 16th.
February 15th and 16th. Let's see here. Yes, I mean, again,
President's Day
always fun
weekend.
to see everybody because it's so like,
Yeah.
yeah, 15th, 16th. Yeah, we can do that.
Awesome. We'll see you in Vegas, man. Thanks again.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate you.